Hey, what's up everyone, it's me SpeedSuperSonic bringing you guys another video. In this video today we have something very exciting. We've been kind of wondering where Sonic Superstars really been at. We got this barrage of news in relation to the game right when it was announced, and we got so much stuff like the Lego tie-in that's going on and everything like that. It's been very exciting, but it's kind of slowed down a little bit since then, and with the game slowly approaching this fall, we're really wondering when are we going to get more info on it, and it seems like we are getting more info on it because Sonic Superstars is going to be covering Game Informer this month, and we have a bunch of news in relation to Sonic Superstars from the Game Informer. So we're going to be going over all of this info. We have a big, fat, long article to walk through today. So we're going to really waste no time, dive into it, see what new details are released, see what big abilities are going to be shown off here today, and basically everything that we can look forward to when it comes to Sonic Superstars, in addition to new looks at the game with new images and all stuff like that. So without any further ado, let's dive into this. Let's go. The announcement of Sonic Superstars sparked excitement among the fan base thanks to the return of the 2D style of gameplay found in the beloved retro entries in the franchise, but complemented with gorgeous modern visuals. The game plays very much like a homage to those games that previously lived on the Genesis, but developers Arcest and Sonic Team are adding various new elements to Sonic Superstars to expand on the classic gameplay fans are looking forward to. It really started with creating those classic physics and making sure the game had the classic physics in there. Sonic Team creative officer Takashi Iizuka said, we've kind of known that since some previous interviews with Iizuka about Superstars that we've covered on the channel. After we got the physics working right, we said, okay, now we need to work on the level design, because the level design is very specific and we needed it to feel like a classic game from a level design standpoint. After studying the level design, after getting the physics in, and both of those were working together, then we started saying, okay, now what can we do new and how can we implement that in? In addition to elements like 4-player cooperative play and various new gimmicks throughout the game zones, Sonic Superstars also introduces players to Emerald powers. Now, this has been a big element of the game for a while that we've known about but haven't known too much about in relation to it, so here we go. These all new powers grant Sonic and his friends special abilities for Chaos Emeralds they obtain through the special stages. In Sonic Superstars special stages, you can swing from floating bubbles toward your goal. If you entered through a giant gold ring like Sonic 3 Knuckles, your reward is a Chaos Emerald. If you entered through a giant blue ring, you can earn medals. Regardless of the prize, the mission is the same. Swing from floating bubbles toward the moving object, while most of the bubbles simply factor in your momentum and point of release. Others can stop you dead in your tracks, while others still send you flying toward the goal. So that's very interesting. So it seems like we're going to be going into a lot of the Emerald powers here, because here is the Emerald power inspiration. Unlike past entries where you only receive the benefits of collecting Chaos Emeralds once you gather all 7, Sonic Superstars gives you shorter term satisfaction. We wanted to say, how can we reward someone for getting just one, Iizuka said. If we reward someone for just getting one, that will motivate people to get each individual one and see what they are. So part of the new ideas is how Emerald powers started was in the process of trying to get people excited about getting each individual emerald. So that's very cool, and honestly that's a very smart move on their part in my opinion. Something I think a lot of Sonic games have needed recently is incentive to really go back and get everything. Really expand upon that replayability and just get back in the game and play it more. A lot of Sonic games like in the late 2010s were so bare bones, you didn't really want to go back and collect all those red rings in Sonic Forces. Like, nobody wanted to do that. But recently they've been starting to change that, which has been really exciting to see. Each Chaos Emerald offers distinct Emerald powers, and all powers are available to each playable character. Those powers are selected with the right stick and operate on a cooldown, with each star post checkpoint replenishing your cooldown meter. That's interesting. The overarching idea for Emerald powers draws inspiration from the Wisp mechanic found in the modern series, starting with Sonic Colors. However, there is one key difference with Emerald powers. In Colors, you need to use the Wisps in order to get around in the level and complete the game, but we didn't want that to be part of the Superstars game, Iizuka says. We wanted the classic Sonic gameplay to still remain true, so when we were looking at the Emerald powers and the Wisps, we wanted to make sure you could still beat Superstars without having to use any of the powers, which is what we wanted to balance during the game design. That's great to know, that it won't be like overabundance of just that, so that's great. Now here's a full list of Sonic Superstars Emerald powers. Each Emerald power in Sonic Superstars is tied to a specific Chaos Emerald, and while we don't know the exact order they are unlocked, we know every single Emerald power that Sonic and his friends will have at their disposal. Sadly, there are only 7 Chaos Emeralds, and Iizuka shoots me down when I float the idea of Super Emeralds enabling them to expand the arsenal, so several ideas were left on the chopping block. We actually had lots and lots of ideas about what kinds of powers we could put in the game, Iizuka says. But as you know, there are only 7 Chaos Emeralds, and we needed each of the powers to be associated with an emerald, so there are only 7 powers you could choose from. So of all of the ideas, we had to whittle down to only 7, and unfortunately, we did have some really interesting ideas, but we could have put them in the game because it would have gone over that 7. Now, Here are all the powers. First is Avatar. This is the one that we've seen at the end of the Sonic Superstars reveal trailer, and I think we've seen like a handful more of like little tiny clips on YouTube. But now we have an official name. The move is called Avatar. It just makes me think of the movie. Avatar allows you to create clones of your character and send them speeding across the screen, defeating nearly any enemy in their path. This is particularly useful when outnumbered by badniks or overpowered by a challenging boss. In my experience with Avatar, saving it for a boss final form is extremely wise. Avatar has the most visual impact of any of the ideas, Iizuka says. It calls on various avatars you know. Other Sonics or other Tails are going to come in and defeat all the enemies when you use it, and it can be used to get yourself out of trouble. If you're about to die, just get past that enemy to make sure you're living longer. It's really one of the more fun Emerald powers to use, so that's very cool. As you can see, we have the image right here of Knuckles using that ability, which is really cool. Next one's even more interesting because not only is this a new move that we haven't seen yet called Bullet, but this uses the red emerald, and we have a new screenshot right here which appears to be a new level. It kind of reminds me of Planet Wisp in a way. I know it's not Planet Wisp, but it just kind of reminds me of it. So I'm really excited to see what this world is all about. A very Sonic Colors-esque enemy too in that image. Bullet allows you to blast your character in a specified direction. I found this helpful in both tricky platforming sequences as well as boss battles where your goal is just out of reach. Bullet, just as the name is being able to shoot or project Sonic in mid-air, Iizuka says. When you jump in mid-air using the Bullet Emerald power, you can stop and make a decision mid-air what direction you want to launch yourself into, and then you can change direction, or you can go in a different direction, or continue forward in that direction you want to go in, and shoot your character further that direction. A lot of uses of direction here. It's extremely useful action. It's probably the most useful action for this kind of game. Okay, so that's really cool. I'm excited to use this one. I don't know which character is using this in particular. This might be Tails or Knuckles, but nonetheless, I'm excited for this one. This one's interesting. We've seen this one too. It's called Water, and this uses the Cyan Emerald. We've seen this in some of the trailers and stuff, and we have a new image right here of him attacking some new badniks. Using the Water Emerald power, characters can easily traverse underwater areas and even climb up waterfalls. While not applicable in every zone, using this in appropriate places could yield amazing results. Water turns the player character into water, and once you're in that water form, you can swim up waterfalls, or if you land in water, you'll be able to run around freely in there because you are water along with the water. So maybe like when Iizuka talks about these, he just used the same word like over and over again. It does help out that not only getting up waterfalls, but also when you're in these underwater areas. One thing to note is there are some levels that don't have water, so it's not going to be really useful power up everywhere. Okay, so I'm sure that probably will apply in like the early, I'm assuming the first level, which is what we saw in the reveal trailer. It'll be very useful in there, but not like a lava planet or something like that. Ivy. This uses the green emerald, and we have a new screenshot right here which appears to show off a token of some sort. We'll see what the token contributes to the game, I'm guessing at a later date. But it says that Ivy lets you grow vines from where your character stands to help you reach new areas. You can direct where they grow, and if you're playing co-op, your teammates can use the Ivy to reach new areas as well. So I believe we've seen this as well in the trailer. I think we saw Knuckles and Tails using this as well, so that's very cool. Just like the game says, when you use the Ivy power and the Ivy vine is going to grow out of the ground and start growing upwards, Iizuka says, it allows you to get to higher places that maybe you couldn't get to just by jumping. But what's really interesting about it is using it in multiplayer mode. You can use the Ivy power to help your cooperative teammates get to the places that you can get to. And by using the Ivy, you can cooperate and get to places together. That one I'm sure will be fun. But this one's very interesting, but I'm also a little nervous for this one. That's Vision. This uses the purple emerald, the lean emerald, if you will. In fact, there's a lot of information about this. Iizuka really talked about this one. As teased in an earlier trailer for Sonic Superstars, players can activate Vision whenever they have a sneaking suspicion that there might be something behind what is currently visible. In a previous trailer, we saw Vision reveal hidden platforms and rings. Iizuka said that this power will really play into the replayability aspect of the way these stages were designed. I really like Vision, Iizuka says. It allows you to see the unseeable things that you couldn't see without using the power. When using Vision, you'll notice that before, where there wasn't a platform to jump on or rings to get, there is now a platform you can see and land on, and there are rings that you can jump and collect. It's really great for stage exploration, so even after you've gone through the game once, going back and playing again with Vision allows you to see things you didn't know existed before and find these new areas and locations to get you're using the Vision Emerald power. Since the Emerald power is built around seeing hidden objects in the environment, players might have a challenging time knowing when to use the power. However, the developers have already thought about this. Obviously, if you can't see it in the first place, you don't know to use it, Iizuka says. It's kind of making sure people understand how to use the powers. This is something that the team went in and said, you know, we really want to make sure people are aware of the times when they should be using something, especially if it's like vision and you can't see it in the first place. So automatically there will be an indicator that pops up that will tell you, oh hey, if you use vision right now, there may be something around here that you can find. This kind of auto indicator will pop up and let you know or give you a good sense of when you should be using some of the emerald powers. So I like that. A little bit of a handicap in a way that like just kind of holds your hand and helps you along somewhat. I hope it's not for every single time you should use an emerald power, but I'm sure that's going to help out a lot. But now moving on to the next one, this one's much shorter, and that is slow. This one's interesting. It's for the yellow emerald, and we have a new screenshot right here showing off a little bit of it. I'm really interested to see how this works in like real time in the game. But it says slow, as the name implies, slows down everything on screen. This could be used for tricky boss battles or just different platforming sequences where you need more time to react. Slow is exactly what it says it is. It's going to slow down everything on screen, Iizuka says. You enter the slow motion kind of movement, and because you're not moving in slow motion, you get to look at things that maybe are moving very fast and get a better sense of timing of when you want to be reacting to traps. Or if a boss is attacking, you can use slow down and you can slow the boss attack down and really get more comfortable with how to strategically avoid or attack or action around these things that have been slowed down. It really slows down the game to allow you to play at the pace that maybe is more comfortable. So that's really interesting. I'm assuming from how he described it, Sonic will move at a normal pace, but just the world around him is essentially nothing and not moving at all. I'm not sure how often I'm going to use that one personally, but that's interesting nonetheless. Extra, and this is the white emerald. I'm really interested for this one. Although all emerald powers are universal, the final unlock opens up a character-specific ability. All of the characters use the emerald powers in the same way, and all of the emerald powers react to characters in the same way, but Extra is different and special in that depending on what character you're using, Extra allows a different kind of action for those specific characters, Iizuka says. Because of this, you can choose what character you're going to play with, and when you use the extra power, that power will be unique to that character. Okay, so Sonic is homing attack, Amy is throw hammer, Knuckles is punch, and Tails is tornado spin. So for Sonic's homing attack, when the extra emerald power is active for Sonic, players can move on modern Sonic's most iconic abilities to classic Sonic's repertoire. Classic Sonic does not do the homing attack, but when he has the extra emerald power active, classic Sonic now has a homing attack, so that's going to be really fun. Amy's throw hammer says that Amy's extra emerald power plays off one of her defining gameplay characteristics. For Amy, when she uses the extra power, she is able to throw her hammer and attack enemies by throwing the hammer instead of just hitting with her hammer, so that's cool. Knuckles' punch, this is interesting. Knuckles' use of the extra emerald power transforms perhaps the most defining visual characteristics into gameplay within the classic series. When active, the red echidna can add punches to his already larger set of abilities, so that would be cool. I wonder how powerful that's going to be. And Tails' tornado spin. When Tails uses extra, he gains an ability called tornado spin. When I heard the name, I thought it could mean that he spins really fast and whacks enemies with his own tails, or maybe he summons his iconic plane to do something. However, it's neither of those. Tails will actually create a tornado, Iizuka says. The tornado will follow the ground and just continue on that path and take out enemies in the way. The extra emerald power must still be selected and activated the same as the other powers, so if you don't want to use, for example, Sonic's homing attack, it is completely optional. And now Super, this is really interesting, complete collection, so I'm assuming this is about all of the emeralds. As with most games that include the Chaos Emeralds, once you collect all 7 of them, you gain access to the ability to turn into a super version of your character. Each character can turn super, and their movesets remain the same. For example, Tails doesn't gain super powered flickies as he did in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Instead, each character turns invincible and becomes faster, which rings depleting over time. What's going to be a little bit different is usually in the classic series, you get all 7 Chaos Emeralds, and then when you have a certain amount of rings and you're double jumping, you're automatically transformed into Super Sonic, but we're changing that up a little bit. And once when you get all 7 Chaos Emeralds, you can still choose what power you want to be using, Iizuka says. You can select from the selection wheel what emerald power you want to use at that specific time, not necessarily automatically turning into Super Sonic or Super Form. So it then goes on to talk a little bit more about Sonic Superstars, where it's releasing, what consoles, and stuff like that. But that is really all of the info that we got today from Game Informer, with a bunch of new images and new looks at the game, which is very, very exciting. It's really great to get more info on all of the different abilities in Superstars, because this was an aspect of the game that wasn't really enshrouded in mystery. It was actually a selling point of the game, but still there were a lot of question marks around it. What different kinds that we haven't seen yet, how are we going to be able to use them? So much was explained here, and so much sounds really exciting here, so I'm really pumped for it. But I'm sure after all of that reading, this video has become long enough, so without any further ado, I'm going to give this off to you guys and ask what you think about all of the new info coming from Iizuka Game Informer about Sonic Superstars. What do you think about all of these new emerald powers? Are you excited for them? What are your favorite ones? What are some that you don't like? Are you going to be using these frequently, or just going to be going around the game like it's a traditional 2D Sonic game? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to know what you guys have to say. Feel free to follow my social media links on my Twitter and Instagram, on the description below. You can follow those events easily in my live future content and all things Sonic the Hedgehog. But most importantly, if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. This is the #1 destination on YouTube for all things Sonic. Whether it's video games, TV shows, movies, comics, merchandise, and more, we talk about it all. There's a lot of really exciting stuff coming up, a lot of really cool surprises, but some other stuff is really going to start ramping up for this franchise. I got some really cool discussions in the works for you guys right now as well. It's a very exciting time to be a Sonic fan. I love all you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Wonder what you want right now, wonder what you want right now. Used to be body, used to be body. Counting all my blessings and count my dollars, make it all better.